This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Today's episode of the Ducks Confidential podcast is brought to you by Travel Lane County, an organization that promotes travel and tourism in the Eugene, Cascades, and Coast region. Ducks fans can find out more at www.eugenecascadescoast.org. The Oregon Ducks held their first scrimmage on Saturday and checked in at number 7 in the AP poll, which matches where they landed in the coaches poll. Welcome to the Ducks Confidential podcast. I am Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian and OregonLive, joined by my main man, George Wrighster. What's up, George? You want to give your resume again like you did last time, or are we good with that?
Nah, man. I mean,
you don't have to brag on yourself.
Google will help everybody if they need to.
Because I put it in the rundown. George will talk about himself. You don't want to pontificate or anything.
Just know that your boy has been around. So the announcement came out today. So I don't remember whether I said it last time or not, but the announcement came out today. CW, I will be doing CW pre and post game this year for Pac-12 and ACC games. So it's exciting.
That's awesome. That's right. I know you told me that was up in the air. That's gonna be good. So you're gonna be going to the studio, or you're gonna be going to games?
Yeah,
studio, breaking it down.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm a studio kind of guy.
You are, and we know you know a lot about football because you played tight end, as you pointed out, is the most knowledgeable next to quarterback on the field, right? So you know you're big so you know your stuff. All right, real quick, we didn't talk about this the first podcast. You got your degree. You went
Yes,
back.
I did.
Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. It was actually pretty cool because I went to graduation, took the fam up there, and that was crazy because when I left early, I left my junior year.
Right.
I had anticipated coming back and finishing my degree. I promised my mom and my grandma, and life gets in the way, started making money, everything's going well, and then it becomes harder and harder to go back to school. And then you got a family, you got work, all that. And then one day I woke up and I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. And my old roommate, who is who works in the JQuad, who is one of the academic counselors, Lindsay Bingham now, and she helped me get back enrolled in school, and it was a lot of work, a lot of time, but I didn't think it was going to mean as much to me as it did on graduation day when I was sitting up there, and then I got a chance to be one of the speakers at graduation too, and I sat up there and I cried my little eyes out in the beginning of the speech, and it was good. I'm very happy I did it. That's
awesome. And what are you going to do with your degree in basket weaving? Just kidding. What was your degree?
I mean,
I'm kidding.
See, but isn't that the thing about degrees, though, right? Is that for the most part, the vast majority of people aren't doing something that is necessarily tangible to their degree. It just shows that you started something and you finished something.
Finished it.
And that you are diligent and you work hard, because it's not easy to start and finish, no matter whether you do it in college or after. There's always some excuse. Something will happen in life, so whether it's financial, personal, emotional, something that could get you to quit, and you didn't.
There you go. Yep. Speaking of basket weaving, we had a couple of classes like that at Portland State back in the day. One of them was football coaching. And so the whole team took a football coaching class from the coaches who rotated in. And there would be like 90% of the class would be football players, and then a few students would be in there. And so they'd give us like assignments. And like one of the assignments I remember was, draw a practice plan. And every single guy drew up the practice plan that we had at Portland State. And the coaches laughed about it, but everyone got it. All you had to do was show up. We all got an A.
Because that's
it was
all
so
you know.
bad. Well, exactly. It was going to be a high school practice plan or that practice plan, but we all did the same one.
Honestly, I do believe, and I tell this to parents now, is that people see so much money in being a professional athlete and all that stuff, and they want their kids to do it. They'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on their kids and all of this stuff. If you figure out early, especially, my kid did not win the gene lottery, right? But they didn't win the battle in the womb.
Unlike your kids, right? Unlike your kids. Your kids got some good genes.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. Listen, man, it's a blessing. It is a blessing. And if that, then you should actually consider teaching your kid to be a coach. Coaches get paid.
They also get ulcers. They also get ulcers, but go ahead.
Yes. I mean, would you rather have an ulcer with Lincoln Riley's
paycheck,
$110 million paycheck, or would you rather have an ulcer working at your cubicle?
Right.
So
this is true.
So I would teach my kid to be a coach. Teach them leadership skills. Teach them the fundamentals of the game, because there are seminars you can go to. I would teach them everything about the game. And then you will have an opportunity, because it is hard to break into coaching. But if you show that initiative early and lean into it, you will be one of them fast track kind of people. So parents who are listening to this, teach your kids to be coaches. Don't teach them to be athletes. It's tough. It's tough, and it's hard. But imagine being a coach, a general manager, athletic director like Rob Mullins over there at Oregon. Bro, these are good jobs, and you get to stay in sports.
Absolutely. All right, let's dive into our first topic here. The Ducks, ranked number 7 in the AP poll, which just came out, following the coaches poll, where they're also number 7. George, fair or unfair?
Oh, it's fair.
It's fair?
And I
You're
love
good with
it. I
you don't
love
think they
this
should,
spot.
You don't think they should higher? You're not
No.
No,
I
right.
love it. Have you noticed how quiet things have been, aside from interactions on social media with USC fans for Oregon? Nobody's talking about them as a national championship team. Nobody's talking about them as, about potential Heisman on there. They're not talking about them at all.
Nope.
And I'm ignoring you right now. But
I need a bear poker. I need like a poker for poking the bear. Yeah. Go ahead.
If you look at it, so they ended up with one single first place vote, right? So there was one voter, James St. Cyr out of Jacksonville, Florida, who voted the Ducks number 1. But for the most part, they're ranked in between 5th and 9th. I haven't seen any. I've made it through all voters except like the last 7, and nobody has them 10th. They're pretty much between 5th and 9th, and then there's a couple people that have them 2, 3, but those are kind of outliers. I love this positioning, because if you start out 7th, Aaron, that means that you have a chance to be number 1 pretty easy, right? Like, you can get up to number 1, because they played the team that's ranked number 2 in Penn State in the AP poll in the 5th week of the season. So there is a path to being number 1 in the nation early, and there is a path to the college football playoff that allows you a stumble. You see what I'm saying? Is that it puts you in position where it doesn't require perfection to make the college football playoff. That's where you really want to be at as a program, because I remember there were times Oregon would come in the preseason ranked 10th, 12th, 14th, and that's still pretty high, but that means that the people who are voting and choosing don't view you as a national championship kind of team. But when you start the seasons and multiple seasons inside of the top 10, that means that people are looking at your program in a different way. Because if you look at the AP poll for this year, the preseason poll, Texas, Penn State, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, LSU, Miami. That's a lot of blue bloods and a lot of name brands, right?
Right.
2024, same thing, except for you had that's the final rankings. In the preseason, Oregon started out 3, and in the top 10, all blue bloods and name brands except for maybe Ole Miss, but they're a pretty big name brand. That's just how they view you. No, and the same thing in 2023, except for you had Washington in the top 10.
Yep. No, you're right. I had an AP poll back in the day. I think I had it in 06, 07 or 506, something like that. And it's true. If when you have a team in the teens, like when you start looking at teams 12 through 20, they're all the same. You just have to put them in order. But if one of those teams stumbles, it's very easy to just really topple them over. Whereas you have a team in top 5, top 7, top 8. If they lose, as long as it's not a horrible loss, even if it's a horrible loss, they're not going to fall too far because in your mind you had them as still.
Look at Alabama last year.
Right, exactly. Great example. So yeah, it definitely helps. But with a 12-team playoff, you have no excuse. Regardless, if you can't get in, you just don't. Like that stuff last year with Ole Miss and Bama was just insane.
Oh,
you
God.
Can't get in. You can't get in the field of 12. Just shut up. Just go away. I don't want to hear from you.
You got to shoehorn them in.
We went.
Hey, we got to find a way to get Alabama in the playoff. No, you don't.
No. And then everyone starts lying about what happened, ignoring what really happened in certain games, and don't look at that bad loss over here. Just look at this good win over here. It's just nonsense. Think about this, George. We went through our entire lives until last year watching teams either not playing a true national championship game, right? Because of the polling system, right? And then, okay, now we got 2 in, so you got to be in the top 2, which is impossible. Then you got to be in the top 4, and so 5 was crying and so on. And now 12 get in, number 13, 14, 15 are crying. I don't even want to hear it. Kick rocks, go away.
Yeah.
Even if they went to 8, I wouldn't want to hear from 9, 10, 11. So to me, it doesn't matter. No. I hear what you're saying, but I think in this day and age, getting to number 1 or number 2 and 3, 4 is important for the bye. But if the Ducks handle business, they're gonna be in the playoffs regardless. 9-3 probably gets. Yeah. If they go 9-3 with one of the losses being to Penn State, I think they still have a great chance to get in. So,
see, that's what I'm saying, Aaron. If you start out at 7,
right,
you go 9-3. As long as you don't lose to,
Oregon State. No offense.
Yeah.
No offense.
Then you're going to be in a good spot to be on the cusp of the playoffs.
You're gonna be in the consideration.
You might get one of those. Yeah. Okay. Whereas if you started out 22nd, 9-3 ain't gonna get you up there.
Right. 100%. All right. Let's jump into the scrimmage. First of all, let me harken back to the days when we could watch these things as the media and come away with our own distorted evaluations and drive the coaches crazy with inane questions that didn't really matter. But now we can't watch them, which sucks. And so people still ask Lanning questions about what happened, and he tells us whatever it is he chooses to tell the media. According to him, the scrimmage went well. And the main thing he said is no one got hurt. So, hey, that's always a good thing, right? You never want to have a scrimmage and watch someone get seriously injured. But he did say
nobody got hurt in the scrimmage, but somebody did get hurt in practice. And that was Trey McNutt.
Oh, okay.
Freshman safety. He is going to be out for what they have described as an extended period of time. And he was one of those prized, high 4-star / 5-star recruits who they were expecting to potentially play this year. Some, and it's gonna be on the shelf, on the mend.
What he hurt? Oh, broken leg. Broken leg. Yeah, we have it here. Damn, was that today?
I don't know when it was, but it was very recently.
Yeah, because I just see stories on it just popping up just now.
Yeah.
Poor
so
kid.
it's tough, but as I always say, it is football. Bad things happen to good people.
This is true. Anyway, so now Lanning went on to say that the defense won the day mainly because they limited explosion plays. He said that the offense was able to generate a lot of explosive plays during practices, but on this day they did not. which was a good sign. But before we get to that, I want to bring up one thing he said, which I loved, because this is always the thing that I think about every time teams scrimmage, is that if a coach is happy about one thing, then you're going to be maybe upset about another thing. Because if the offense gets the big play for a 65-yard touchdown, that's great. Offense is hooting and hollering. But then defensively, you're like, okay, where was our pass rush? Where was our coverage? Did we blow a coverage, et cetera, et cetera? So it's really hard to have it be good on both sides, unless you feel like both sides are executing well and the offense generated a big play, because the offense has the advantage when it executes properly. That's how the game is set up. So there's certain things that the offense can do that the defense can't do anything about if the offense executes perfectly. And the whole purpose of a defense is to disrupt that execution. So a defense can play really well and still give a big play. But it sounded to me like he was happy with the overall execution and attention to detail, but just that the defense was able to hold serve and just not dominate, but keep the offense in check.
Yeah, in the beginning of camp, especially, the defense is always ahead of the offense. My theory on that though, are they really ahead, or they don't have to control the ball? That's the difference. They're not really ahead. A lot of it is them being ahead by letting the offense just fall over itself, trying to figure things out. No. Yeah. But if your offense is humming at the beginning of camp, your defense stinks.
Exactly. Which is what happened in 2015, bro. 2015, the offense was Royce Freeman, I heard, was going Bo Jackson Tecmo on the defense. 2016. Yeah. And the reports were coming out of the close scrimmages that was happening. And what happened? They had the worst run defense in the country. So you're 100% correct.
Yep. Yeah. So what you want as a coach, if you're going to have a really good defense, you want any explosives that happen to you feel lucky, like that where it's a tip ball and then somebody still catches it on a tip, and you're like, all right, bro, we there's nothing we can do about that. Like, that's just, or if somebody fell down, or like those are the ways that you want to give up explosive plays as a defense, just where it just feels like an outlier, where you're like, wait, what? Oh, all right, cool, that ain't gonna happen again. Right. And you want your offense to be able to move the ball. And because as a defense, you basically never want to give up explosives. And you want your offense to be able to move against a good defense. Like, that is key. So based upon what Lanning said, that sounds very positive and promising for the team. And what I've heard from inside it is that Dante Moore looks really good. So does Austin Novosad. Right. And that is still a little bit of a building with this wide receiver core, but they're very happy with the offensive line as well. And it's one of those, like, you're practicing good on good all the time. So I thought you brought up a good point, Aaron, where you said, yes. Hey, man, a broken clock is right twice a day. So where you said that if you're happy about one thing, then you're not happy about another. But if you're a coach and you see people flash every now and then, like, you know, if Mateo gives Worlds like a crazy hump move or something, then you're not upset about that. You're like, oh, okay, that's actually good. That's actually a good sign that our special player is flashing special. But then 6 plays later, he might pancake Mateo, and then you're like, oh, hold up. So we're getting this, like, where we have 2 special players and they're both winning some. Right.
Ali Frazier,
that's
right?
What you actually – yeah, that's exactly what you like to see as a coach, because then but then you don't want the lesser players
to get over
to
on the
beat
better –
them.
right, exactly.
Correct.
Yeah, you want Mateo to dominate the lesser players, but have a battle, Godzilla versus Mothra, against someone else who's equal. Exactly. Right.
Wait, Godzilla versus who?
Mothra. No?
Who is that?
You don't know who Mothra is?
Who's Mothra? No.
The original Godzilla movies back in the day, Mothra was the one that flew.
Never seen a Godzilla movie in my life.
Right. So Godzilla versus Kong, is that better? Is that, you can relate to that?
I've heard of that. I've never seen it, but I've heard of it.
Okay. Well, that's a topic for another day. George doesn't know much about Godzilla.
I've,
you know who Godzilla is, right?
I do know who Godzilla is.
Well, one of his foes. Yeah. Well, he's a atomic dinosaur or whatever. Anyway, one of his main nemesis.
You're a nerd.
Was Mothra.
You're a nerd.
I'm not a nerd. I was a kid watching Godzilla movies.
That's nerd behavior, buddy. Mothra.
Well,
he's no. The thing that was a nerd like is when I said he's a dinosaur, and then you were like, well, actually, no, he's actually an atomic dinosaur. That was the nerd part. That was the nerd part right there.
Okay. Moving on before I continue to sink myself into this nerddom here. All right. Anything else you want to add about the scrimmage? I mean, it's so hard when you don't see it. I mean, you can't steal the all 22.
Yeah.
You can't get the all 22 for us so we can break it down.
Man, listen. If I shared what I saw on all 22, well, actually, I don't have access to practice film. But even if I did, my practice film access would get revoked. But also coming off not necessarily the scrimmage, but I can talk about this because it's being out there a little bit. Is Jurion Dickey is suspended from the team. Former 5-star is suspended from the team. And from what the understanding is, that this is not a single violation, but this is a multiple violations kind of thing. And what this leads me to believe is this. We're looking at a kid who has been in the program, for 2 years already. He was a 5-star kid. He's been hurt basically the entire time he got there. And now he's not on the depth chart where he wants to be. So there's some frustration there.
Right.
And when you're frustrated, you kind of act out a little bit. And I believe that his frustration, this is just what I've seen being in locker rooms and everything, that his frustration is not being dealt with in a healthy way. And you probably got people in your ear from your hometown, mom, grandma, dad, uncle, cousin, friend, agent. Oh man, they screwing you over. You don't, you should be here. You should be there. I can't believe that this guy's in front of you on the depth chart. That's messed up. And sometimes it's part your own fault. But nobody is going to tell you that
in your own circle,
besides your coaches. Right. And if you have somebody in your life that's like me with my kids, be like, hey, bro, part of this is your fault. So it's like, yes, you may be more talented than X player, but here's what coaches are looking for. If you don't do these things, if you don't listen to dad, you get what you get. So we got to be willing to not just blindly defend everything and be like, oh, yeah, the coach is screwing you. You always got to remember, and I tell this, Aaron, is so when players think that coaches are screwing them, sometimes they are 100% right. If it's a player that they recruited versus they didn't recruit you, stuff like that, that sort of thing can happen. But typically what it is if not so much a head coach like Dan Lanning, because he's got a guaranteed contract, all of this stuff. He's so far from being fired, aside from doing something insanely stupid, that it's not even worth talking about. But assistant coaches, let's say that you are the linebackers coach, Aaron, and I'm a linebacker.
Okay.
You're making $600,000 a year, okay?
Right.
Whoever you put out on the field, you choose to be your starting linebackers, you essentially have to be able to trust them with your mortgage. Trust them with your livelihood, with your pension, with everything else. So when coaches either put a player out there or don't put a player out there, yes, sometimes people make personal choices and bad choices, but the majority of the time it's going to be based upon who can secure their livelihood or who they trust the most with their mortgage, and that they don't have to move to another state because they got fired.
Right.
That's what it typically is.
True. I mean, you at the end of the day, you can only start so many people, right? Period. You only play so many people, and so if you have 10 linebackers and you're going to start 3 and have 3 maybe getting some PT, 4 are going to be pissed. Especially if you get a redshirt junior backing up a sophomore or something like that. Those things are going to happen. As far as Dickey goes, he hasn't been healthy, right? He hasn't been healthy enough to really prove himself, correct? I mean, so how could he claim? You're not saying he necessarily feels screwed, or do you think that's the case?
I don't think he necessarily feels screwed, but I think that we're in a situation where he is probably, frustrated with the situation, and that's fair to be frustrated.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, before we get out of scrimmage mode, just real quick, I do find it encouraging, even though you have a young quarterback and you have young receivers, which Lanning talked about, those guys still kind of working things out. The fact that you have such a new group in the secondary and they're all learning to play with each other either at all or as starters. The fact that, according to Lanning, they did a great job communicating the entire day, which helped keep the offense in check. That's a great sign early regardless. Because, again, it's one thing, people often confuse good defense versus bad offense. Sometimes the DBs don't know what they're doing, but the offense just couldn't take advantage. Other times you can tell that your secondary was in the spots they were supposed to be in and rotating and changing based on the offense. And if you see that, the body's in the right places, that's what you care about the most. And that's a good sign.
Facts.
Yeah. And then now on the other side, offensive line didn't dominate, clearly, didn't reach their target goals, 5 yards per carry, whatever Lanning said the other day. But he does feel like they are gelling together. And that doesn't concern me at all. Like the fact that the offensive line with 4 new guys in the program didn't come out and steamroll the defense. Well, had they done that, that'd be a red flag on the defense.
The defense would be bad.
Then it'd be like, oh, crap, what's going on with the defense, right? But the fact that they weren't awful, just not great, is a good sign for the defense, but also is to be expected for the offense. Now, the next scrimmage, you'd hope to be able to see more production because at the end of the day, you want your O-line to be able to exercise its will against anybody. Regardless of how good the defense, you want to be able to run the football and move the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, correct. You want to have the defense make some plays, but you don't want tackles for loss and stuff like that. Like, you want it to basically be a stalemate at the end of the day between your offensive line and your front 7 with the defense. You want there to be some wins. You want there to be some losses. You want there to be some no gains. You want 4 yards, 5 yards, 8 yards, 3 yards. Like, you want a lot of that. And because they get so familiar with each other and the holes on the defense, that some of it is for the play callers too, because every defense has holes. There is no defense in the history of defenses that doesn't have
the Bears 46 defense 40 years ago. No, they had one hole. Marino exploited it on Monday Night Football, but you were too young for that. You don't even remember that. You were a child.
1985.
How old are you? You weren't even born, were you?
Yes, of course I was born in 1985, man, with the Super Bowl Shuffle.
How old are you, though?
Hey, I'm 44.
Okay,
so you were 1981.
4. So you were 4. You don't remember that.
I do remember the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Okay.
Four shooter and Refrigerator Perry and Mike Singletary,
Walter Payton,
Willie Gault.
This is my autograph, Walter Payton helmet right here.
Hey, Walter Payton almost broke my hand when I was like 11 years old.
Shaking his hand?
Shaking it.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a monster. Yeah, I mean, hey, but we should probably get you a bigger Oregon helmet and a smaller Chicago Bears helmet because one team is really good, the other team stinks.
I've been waiting to see how long it would take for you to notice that. My little Ducks mini helmet there. You like that?
Yeah, it needs to grow. It needs some true height vitamins or something.
Well, see, here's my plan real quick. So just so people don't think I went soft and now I'm a homer. I plan on collecting the entire Big Ten. So that way, when the Ducks play, I can put whoever they're playing, their helmet right next to it for that week. So don't get all excited.
Oh, okay. I like what a man who plans ahead.
Yeah, so don't get all excited like, oh, Fentress going soft on the Ducks. No, I'm still objective. But plus I'm gonna be paying. I'm gonna be paying tuition twice this fall.
The people are just waiting on the shoe. Yeah, the people are just waiting on the shoe to drop, and you've paid tuition. Well, you're paying tuition times two. So yes, yeah.
All right. Real quick before we get to the top 10, you want to go over your top 10 Big Ten coaches, which I think you have Lanning with 10, right? You have Lanning 10 on that list, maybe 10.
No. 18th.
Oh,
18th.
Okay.
18th.
So he's not even in the list. Okay, that's good. All right. Before we get to that, I wrote about Jamari Johnson, tight end from Louisville, transferred in, who's hoping to carve himself out a role behind Kenyon Sadiq. We all know Kenyon Sadiq could have an all-time great season for a tight end this year. You were in a similar situation as Jamari when you transferred in because you backed up the clear starter.
No.
Huh?
There was no transferring in.
You didn't transfer into Oregon?
No, man. Came straight out the womb, man.
I'm sorry. For some reason, I always thought you were a JC transfer, but I remember clarifying that the other day.
This is the second time we've had this conversation.
I know. You redshirted, then you redshirt sophomore, then you redshirt junior. Right. My fault. Sorry. When I was writing a little thing about you the other day,
you got old,
I figured
man.
that out. I know.
You were getting...
It was a whole week ago when I figured that out, and I just lost my mind for a second. But anyway, but I wanted to make that leak with him because he transferred in, but my fault. Anyway, bottom line is you backed up a dude just like he's backing up Kenyon. So as a backup, like looking at him and what he brings to the table, what do you think he can add to the mix? Sort of, maybe similar or not similar to what you added to Justin, but how do you think he's going to fit in with this situation with Sadiq? Because it almost seems like Sadiq's clearly the guy, but Johnson might be a better inline blocker. I don't know. He's a little bit bigger. We'll see. But what do you think? What do you think he's going to contribute?
So when you're the second tight end on the depth chart, it's not like being the
second quarterback or second kicker, right?
Quarterback.
Right.
Yeah. What you're actually trying to do is not be the starter. What you're trying to do is carve yourself into a role where you have to be on the field more.
Right.
Where you make the team better in the run game and in the pass game. Because if you're the second tight end, what you want is that the best personnel for the offense is 12. So one running back, two wide receivers, and two running back. I'm sorry, two tight ends. So you want to be in 12 personnel. So the first number relates to the number of backs. Second number relates to the number of tight ends. So you want to be you want to establish it that way in the run game and the pass game. 12 is the best formation. Because the dream for a tight end is to be in a situation like you had with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez in New England. Or like with me and Justin, where we played so much 12 because it's actually one of the hardest it's one of the hardest offensive combinations for defenses to adjust to. Because if you can have tight ends that can split out, then they don't know what personnel to put out. Because if you're just as likely to run the ball with two tight ends in as you are to pass the ball from a spread out formation, they don't know whether to bring in extra DBs, take linebackers out, or bring in extra linebackers. They don't have a clue what to do, which puts the offense at a major advantage.
Right. Especially with someone like Sadiq, who has the athleticism of most receivers. Couldn't you see a situation where if the receiver situation becomes a little funky because you have so much inexperience there,
you're going to see them play way more 12.
Yeah, and Johnson establishes himself as a legitimate starting tight end at the Y, then you can flex out Sadiq and then bring him in and then flex him out and then motion him and you can double wing him. You can do all sorts of creative things.
And you can flex out, because you can flex out Jamari too, because that's what he did in high school. Mm-hmm. Dude, when he was at Inglewood and came to come play my kid at Sierra Canyon, dude, it was in the playoffs. Jamari could not be stopped. He was a one-man wrecking crew. They had him out lined up wide like a wide receiver, and he was a problem. You couldn't tackle him. It was hard to guard him because he's so big. Yeah, it was just a menace.
Were they dropping that fade?
Everything they wanted, even though even though we ended up winning, but still.
He was a monster. All right, yeah, so that's gonna be interesting to see what happens with him. All right, let's get to it. Let's get to your top 10. See, I don't even know. Okay, I don't even know how you even come up with this, but go ahead. Let's hear it. Let's start with number 10. I mean, it's so subjective.
Yes, it is subjective.
Okay,
Aaron.
So number 10.
Ron.
Ron.
Ron. All right, number 10. Best coach in the Big Ten. I got to give it to Jonathan Smith over there at Michigan State.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so CBS has him at 13th. Why you have him at 10?
Because you can't discount what he did at Oregon State and what he was able to build out of nothing.
Okay.
Like, he had less resources, less stars in recruiting, and found a way to be a menace in the Pac-12.
Absolutely.
I think he's an excellent coach.
Is he going to get it together at Michigan State though? Is he going to be able to? Because that's such heavy lifting there. You think so?
It's if he could do it at Oregon State, he can do it at Michigan State. Because he's a builder. He's not going to transfer a portal a whole team in. He's going to recruit and build. So year 3 is when you will see the biggest jump, I believe.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, but the only difference is that in the Pac-12, you had maybe 3 or 4 powers to overcome, and 3 of those 4 came to the Big Ten to add on top of what they already had. So it's far heavier lifting to try and dig your way
it definitely is.
out of the bottom where they are. So I don't know, man. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I think they can be a middle program next year.
Okay.
That they can be somewhere between 6 and 10 next year.
Okay. All right. Number 9.
Number 9. I got to give this dude a lot of credit for his past.
Matt Rule?
No. I'm going to give it to Luke Fickell.
Okay. Why?
Because Luke Fickell did such an amazing job at Cincinnati that he technically should be higher on this list, but it ain't going well at Wisconsin. So I'm kind of dinging him for the recent history, but not totally forgetting about what he did at Cincinnati.
Okay. CBS has him 11. All right. Number 8. Jed Fish.
Number 8.
I'm guessing.
You are,
Am I right?
huh?
I'm guessing Jed Fish.
No.
Okay.
No.
Matt Rule.
Jed. Can you? No, man. No. It is PJ Fleck.
He is number 8 on CBS. All right. PJ Fleck. He's been there a minute, dude.
Yes.
He was like, his name was floated out there back in 16 after Helfrich got fired. And he went to
Fleck
Minnesota.
is a very good coach. He is a very good coach, and he is slowly building Minnesota into a problem. Now, he's gone through some offensive struggles, to say the least. He's going through some major offensive struggles, but he's still a very good coach. And it seems like he's getting it together with the quarterback position. Their defense is always a problem. It's always menacing. It's always tough. Like, you're not going to go put up 50 points on Minnesota.
Right.
So as soon as he figures out his offense is when Minnesota will make a playoff run.
He had an 11.
Well, not necessarily a run, but they'll make a playoff.
He had 11-2 season, then the pandemic, then he had 9-4, 9-4, 6-7, 8-5. So he's always been pretty solid to good.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he's been there as long as he's been there. He's been there. This is his 9th year, or he's already been 9 years. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, this is his 9th season. That's good. They're letting this guy continue to grow with the program. All right, next.
Yep. I'm going to go with Kurt Singetti next.
Okay. Why?
Because Kurt Singetti is, now mind you, he's a recent new head. Well, he's a new head coach at Indiana, but he was at James Madison before that. And I really love his story in that he was on Alabama's coaching staff, making more money, and then took a job at a little D2 or something like that in Indiana just to get a head coaching job. Kills it there, goes to James Madison, kills it, and then goes to Indiana, lights it up.
Okay.
Like, the dude has just won and been spectacular everywhere he's been. So we cannot deny that. And I think that has merit.
Okay. Yeah. Last year was a surprise, right? I mean, no one really had Indiana doing what they did.
No. And he's recruiting better there. And they're going to be, I think they're going to take a step back from last year because the schedule's not as favorable. But I do think that they're still going to be a good football team, though.
Okay.
But more middle of the Big Ten.
All right. He was 7. So who's 6?
Number 6 is Brett Bielema.
Okay. He's
over there
he's
in
7
Illinois.
He's 7 on CBS. They had Kurt 6th on CBS. All right, 7th. He's doing a good job too, right? All things considered.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job at Illinois. I got them making the playoff this year.
Really?
And being yes, and being 4th in the Big Ten.
Okay.
They returned 16 starters, Aaron, off a 10-win team.
Right.
That is and they transferred in some very productive players. Like, they didn't transfer in guys from other Power Fives who didn't play well or hadn't really played. They transferred in guys from other Power Five schools that had played and played pretty well, and some FCS guys who were moving up, who were dominant at the FCS level. So I think that they got a real good time to be special. Now, Arkansas didn't go as well for Brett as he would have wanted, but when he was in Wisconsin, he was a problem. And I actually got a chance to interview him on the Unafraid Show, which videos out on YouTube. He's just a different coach and a different person than he was. And you see a lot more of he's just a good dude. I like him. I think he's a very good coach, so that's why I got him at 6.
Okay.
And I think he's putting Illinois in a position where they're going to be better than they ever have.
All right, so number 5 has to be number 5 has to be Jedd Fisch then, right?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I'm just going to tell you, Jedd Fisch is not on this list.
I didn't think he was.
I like Jedd Fisch. So
he did a great job at Arizona, man. Come on.
He did. It was 30 minutes. It was what, three seasons, and like, he did a great job building Arizona to when he left to Washington. Great job. And he's doing a really good job at Washington. I got Washington finishing 5th in the Big Ten. So this is no slight on him. I just don't feel like we got enough data on him yet. Like the same way with Sharon Moore. I don't feel like we got enough data yet.
But we got enough data on Dan Lanning, though, right? I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Number 5.
Number 5. We got Lincoln Riley.
Oh, really?
Yes, dude. He's coached the team to the playoffs multiple times.
Okay. I'm so surprised you're giving him credit.
He could be a little bit lower on the list because of what's happening at USC, because he hasn't built anything. Like,
he's
he
declined.
inherited. He's in. When he got the job in Oklahoma, he inherited a blue blood with a great roster and had won national championships recently. But he is an offensive mastermind, and he has figured out that, oh damn, I need to play some defense. Hired DeAnton Lynn. He's hired a good roster. Now, that doesn't mean I think all the decisions
he hired a good roster.
That's making are
That's a great way to point it. He hired a good roster. Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He's hired a good roster and he's hired a good staff.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of, like, it's one of those, you can't discount the past.
Okay. Fair. Who's next? Number 4.
Number 4 is James Franklin.
James Franklin. He is number 3 on CBS's list, and Lincoln's number 4. Anyway, go ahead. James Franklin.
Good coach. You don't win big games.
But you still have him pretty high for not winning big games.
I mean, okay, just because you're at a school like Penn State does not guarantee that you're having success. Just made it to the playoff in the conference championship last year. Right. He has won at they're good for 10 wins a year. If you're good for 10 wins a year, you can't discount it because you still have to, even if you're not winning the big games, you're beating everybody else.
Right.
So that means you're doing a great job at recruiting and building. And sometimes you just got to figure out the last step. And if he can't get it done this year, it's going to be haunting because everything on paper says that this should be a special season for Penn State, that they should be able to win a national championship. They got probably the best returning running back crew with Singleton and Katron Allen. They returned 3 starters off their offensive line. They transfer portaled some very productive wide receivers in. Their defense is super good. Their offensive coordinator, Colt Nickey, is a great play caller and play designer. Their defensive coordinator just won a national championship with Ohio State last year. They've been to the playoff. They're a veteran team. What more could you possibly want? And you got a third-year starting quarterback. If you can't win, if you can't win Oregon at home in a whiteout game, and then you can't eventually beat Ohio State, it ain't gonna happen if you can't do it this year, which would mean he'll fall on the list for next year.
Okay. All right. You had him. Sorry, was that 3 or that was 4? That was 4. All right, number 3.
Number 3. I'm giving him a lot of respect here, right?
This Kirk?
But I feel like I should have him lower because what he's done is diabolical, and that's Kirk Ferentz.
Diabolical. It's one of my favorite words. 27 years, bro.
Yes.
I love that.
27 years without getting fired is incredible.
Yeah, it is.
But the fact that he had his son, Brian Ferentz, as their offensive coordinator, and he sucked, to say the least. He was terrible at his job, like verifiably awful at his job. And he would not fire his son. Like the administration had to fire his son. He could have just demoted him to a different position. And the fact that there are, Aaron, they had last year 3 lines that were under 30 points totals is incredible. And I think they won all 3 of the games, which made and the unders hit, which made it even more incredible. So you have to give him credit for how he has developed players, offensive linemen, linebackers, DNs, putting so many players in the NFL, running backs. But the fact that they don't score points on offense means that they have 0 chance to win a national championship. And that has to be held against them. I just don't know how you can ignore 27 years of not getting fired, consistently winning 9 games, 10 games, staying ranked, winning big games, and you're doing it without an offense. But this is like the PJ Fleck thing. If PJ Fleck feels like Kirk Ferentz just 15 years less of head coaching experience.
Right. Now, they did just add a quarterback, though, right? Mark Gronowski?
Man, they always add a quarterback. They added it. That kid came from South Dakota or South Dakota State.
Yeah, he lit it up.
He was more of a...
He lit it up, man.
All right. It doesn't matter who you add if you're not going to allow the so you mean for all of these years he's never found a quarterback? No, he has wanted to play a certain type of way, and that ain't winning football in 20. Like he's like when Les Miles was down at LSU still trying to play run and punt football and Nick Saban was a run and punt football guy
and crying about the spread.
Yeah, and then he was like, this is actually the future. Let me get on board. Well, Kirk Ferentz, you need to get on board.
I hear you. I'm not going to disagree. If you're going to stick with that old school style, you better have the type of offensive line that's going to grind out 250, keep your team on the field for 36 minutes, and play lights out defense, because you're just not going to be able to keep.
It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if you keep them on there for 40 minutes if the team scores 3 touchdowns in the other ones. That means you can't win.
True, but that's the only way.
Points.
That's the only way you can survive that way. All right, number 2. Wait, that was
number 2.
Was that 3?
Yeah,
that was 3. Okay, number 2.
2.
Oh God, here we go.
Dan Lanning.
All right, sell me on it.
It's easy. There is a level of recruiting. He went 13-0 last year in the regular season. Sure. There's an excitement. There are games being won. There are big games being won. And
one
this
big
is
game,
the gotcha
right?
got.
One big game?
2, multiple.
I guess 2.
But here is the thing that separates great coaches, right?
Bring it down.
There were 3 times last year alone, where he outsmarted the other coach. In the Michigan game, where they lined up in that punt formation and Michigan lined up over the center and they got the 5-yard delay. I'm sorry, the 5-yard penalty, which gave them an extra first down in the third quarter. That was a strategic advantage. There was a strategic advantage in the Ohio State game, where they even changed the rule because he was taking advantage of the rules. And it was one other time as well that happened last year. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But when you are schematically and preparing better than the other coaches, that's going to put you higher on the list. You can't even disagree with that.
No. So here's wrong. Okay. First of all, I'm not going to push back on the idea that he can't be ranked number 2. I'm not. To me, this is so subjective, and it can change with the wind, right? But here's my only problem with this. A lot of the coaches you talked about have been head coaches for a long time.
Correct.
Which means they've been winning and successful pre-NIL transfer portal. So Dan Lanning, to me, still needs to show that he can build the team through actual recruiting and not plug and play. Now, I give him 100% credit, and I have since he got there, in terms of playing the college football free agent market. It's been brilliant. Everything from Gonzalez and Nix on through to Dylan last year and other guys. But that's taking advantage of a system that's new and the money you have to go out and buy players from other teams. Now, other programs are doing it too, don't get me wrong. But a lot of these coaches you talked about recruited players from the ground up. Now, this subject came up at the Oregonian last year where someone said, they were going to write about how Dan Lanning has elevated the Ducks program. And I'm like, wait a minute, how has he elevated the program? And there were 2 people who said, oh, yeah, he's definitely elevated. And 2 people had virtually no experience covering Oregon. And I said, dude, coaches like Bellotti, Rich Brooks, on through recruited, and Kelly recruited guys out of high school and developed and grinded them into conference champions and going to national championship games, et cetera, and contending for Heisman's. Lanning was plug and play with other people's dudes, which is adapt or die. I'm not criticizing for that at all.
Yeah, but
he still needs. Let me finish. He still needs to prove that one step. Now, this year he has fewer transfers, right? So now we're going to see more of these guys he's recruited and see them fill in and see how they produce.
Yeah, but you also is the players that they got here. Here's the hole in that argument. Aaron, is that the players that they brought over, people weren't checking for Bo Nix like that when he left Auburn. He wasn't even a projected draft pick.
I understand that, and I give him credit for that.
So
that's not a hole.
So that's what I'm saying is that some of the guys, right, that, yes, you bring them over and there's some development there and stuff like that. But if you're bringing over transfers and they are like if you were bringing, like, for instance, this year they brought over Bear Alexander. And then people will say, Oh my God, he just took. If Bear goes super high in the draft and he plays well, people will be like, see, look, he's transfer portal merchant.
Right.
No, look at Bear Alexander's history. He was at Georgia, transfers to Georgia, goes to USC, doesn't play at USC barely, red shirts because he's falling out with the team. Nothing is going right. It hasn't worked anywhere. So if he comes up there to Oregon and he plays well, Dan will be called a transfer portal merchant. Oh, he just got him out of the portal. What? Nobody was looking. So
I don't.
So
disagree.
like yes, the safety. Yes, the safety that came from Purdue, Thieneman. He's projected to potentially be a first-round pick. So if he goes and he plays well, okay, cool. Then you developed him some, but the cookie was half-baked. Okay?
George.
But a lot of these transfers have not been baked cookies.
Okay, George, nothing you're saying is incorrect, but it has nothing to do necessarily with what I'm saying.
But
because
it's the way of college football now. You're not going to have a.
I'm not. I said that. Adapt or die. I think Dan
So
Lanning.
the guy that's number one on this list. Hold on. So I'm gonna make a point. The guy that's number one on the list is Ryan Day. He just won a national championship. There's not another coach on this list that has a national championship. That's why the man is first. The thing that he did is that you look at his team from last year. Everybody points to that defense. They only had one transfer portal player on it. Yes, it was Caleb Downs. But the offense, Will Howard, Judkins, they transferred multiple offensive linemen. Like, it's not that they weren't playing transfer portal players when they won. They just didn't on defense. You have to be plug and play. Like you have to develop from high school, and then you have to get transfer portal players no more than four, maybe 5 a year at the very most that are going to be contributors for you.
Okay, George.
And that's the end of my TED Talk.
Okay, thanks for interrupting me with the obvious. Listen, again, I'm not criticizing him for doing things the way he's done them. Adapt or die, right? It's the way of the world. So yeah, if I can go out in a transfer portal and plug in my holes and I got the money and the resources to do it, you're going to do it. So I'm not criticizing him for doing that and doing it well. What I'm saying, he's only been a head coach for 3 years, right? He hasn't had to do what these other coaches have had to do. And so to me, if I'm looking for who's the best coach, well, I'm going to look at coaches who've done it multitude of different ways over a long period of time, not give it to the guy who's benefited greatly from where he is and the resources that he has in order to do it the way he's done it. And so I'll ask you this question. If he switched places with, we were just talking about Kirk, for instance, in Iowa. Kirk comes here and has the resources at Oregon and then goes to Iowa. They play 10 times. How many times is Oregon winning those games? 8?
I would
8?
No.
Yes.
I would put my money on Dan at Iowa. And the reason why. Hold on.
Now you're disrespecting the Ducks program because you're saying the Ducks program is all about Lanning, but we saw Mario win here.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about Ferentz in particular. You can put Ferentz at Oregon. He is not going to be as tenacious of a recruiter and recruit the same type of athlete and player as Dan is.
But Dan's not going to be able to pay those types of players to come to Iowa because he's not going to have the resources that he had at Oregon.
There's money at Iowa. Here's the other thing: is that okay? There are a couple of coaches that I do think that you could trade in there. Okay, if you traded out Dan Lanning and Ryan Day, you're going to have similar success at both programs. If you trade out Brett Bielema and Dan Lanning, I believe that Brett would have tremendous success at Oregon. You just chose the one guy at Kurt Singetti. Same thing, probably.
Okay, fine. I picked the wrong guy. I picked the wrong guy, but you get my point. Okay, fine. Whatever. I'm not gonna. If
you put PJ Fleck at, well, actually no, because he's Kurt he's Kurt Ferentz light so far.
Regardless, you get my point. Lanning has not had to do things these other coaches have had to do, and I believe that all the ones who've been successful.
If you put Jed Fish at Oregon, he has success.
Okay, good. So all these other coaches who have had success because they're doing it the old way, right? I'm going to give them more credit than someone who's done it only the modern way, because I believe a lot of those guys who did it the old way can do it this way too when you have those resources.
Yeah,
but that's not a knock on Lanning.
Done it the old way.
Hold on a second. Let me finish. I'm not saying Lanning can't do it the old way. That's the thing. This isn't a criticism of Lanning. This is just reality. I'm not saying he can't do it that way. He hasn't had to.
So basically, he'll never be able to ascend high on your list because he'll never have to do it the old way.
No, because there's a balance, which you talked about. You've said yourself that this team this year is going to have way fewer. Well, actually, you can't really say that because the offensive line and I don't know, but it's fewer transfer starters, right, than you had last year. Okay, so it's declining, and then what we want to see is all these because. Again, this came out with the recruiting classes. Like the recruiting classes don't mean anything unless the guys become players. If the recruiting class is ranked 5th, but most of them are replaced by transfers, then the class was worthless. So my point is, let's see some of these young kids they've been adding come up through the depth chart, rise up and be developed, and hopefully not leave, and then boom, they blossom. Then you're like, oh, okay. That's what it used to look like in the past. And then you can give him more credit, even though it's never going to be 100% like it was before the portal and NIL, of course. But that's the only thing. And again, it's not a criticism of him. It's just a reality of the situation. He's only been a head coach.
Yeah, I just don't know.
So we're going to see the big thing. We're going to see is Moore, though. We're going to see with Dante Moore, right? Because as I pointed out, his quarterback, Nick's got better. We get that. But Nick's got better in part because he also had 3 years of experience to fall upon. And he shouldn't have been able to play in 24 or 23, and Dylan Gabriel shouldn't have been able to play in 24. But they were able to.
Why shouldn't? That means Michael Penix shouldn't have been able to play. That means Michael Penix shouldn't have been able to play.
Listen, you have to let me finish my points. They wouldn't have been able to play if not for the pandemic. That's what I'm talking about. Right? They wouldn't have had that eligibility.
Why do you keep talking about what?
Let me finish. Let me finish.
That's what happened.
George, you have to let me get to the end of my point. Don't interrupt me midway through Star Wars before we find out that Vader is Luke's father. Okay, let me finish. Again, this is not
nobody watches Star Wars either, but that's okay.
This is not a criticism. But now we're going to see, and again, I'm not saying take away something from him because of that. I'm saying that he benefited from that. So now we'll see with Dante Moore what happens because Dante Moore doesn't have that experience, doesn't have that background of all those starts, and struggled at UCLA. So if Dante Moore comes through here and he develops and he starts killing it and becomes an all-time great quarterback, that's way more impressive than getting someone who's already pretty damn good to great, like Dylan already was, and then plugging them in. That's all I'm saying. So again, it's not criticism that he did that. It's just that there's a difference. There's a difference. Joey Harrington, who you played with, right? He had to grind it out and beat out Feely. He went through his ups and downs, and then boom, he blossomed. Dennis Dixon, oh my God, Dixon.
Well, he actually didn't beat out Feely. Okay. Feely got hurt, and then he never got it.
Okay, fine, whatever. Yeah. Okay. And then Dennis Dixon, we saw him struggle. We saw Kellen Clemens struggle a little bit. Marcus came in out the gate, but he had the red shirt and grow a little bit. So that's all I'm saying. So that's a difference. So these other coaches have done that. Lanning hasn't. So that's my only pushback on this. Might be a little bit too premature to give him number 2, given the circumstances he's had to work with.
The other part is, who could you really put over him? Are you going to put Lincoln Riley over him? He's been a head coach longer, but the last 4 years.
I mean, that's the thing. But he's also had a longer body of work to have struggles. Lanning hasn't. Lanning might very well struggle at some point. We don't know yet.
I mean, I think that struggle won't be a losing record. That's what struggle won't. Struggle will be like a 9-3 year.
Well, yeah, with the transfer portal and the money they have, that's exactly what it should be. It should never be worse than 8 because you have those resources to plug and play.
Yeah, but everybody else has the same thing. So like
everyone has the same amount of money.
So that's the part.
Well, moving forward, it'll change, right? Because there's going to be more of a salary cap.
Yeah, but you have to remember, Oregon doesn't even offer the most money to recruits the majority of the time. Like the recruits that they get, they weren't even the highest offer the majority of the time.
Okay.
But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. I'm sure the offers were higher than Iowa and Illinois and Indiana. So they were behind Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State? Is that who they were behind?
Georgia's not a team that offers the most money either, which is very interesting. Okay. So Dan is taking the Kirby Smart approach to this thing.
Okay. Well, I don't have a problem with being number 2. I just had to point that out. So we'll see.
You just have a problem with it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem at all. I'm just saying there's other guys who've done it for longer in different circumstances, and you got to take that into account. That's all I'm saying. All right.
Okay.
But in the future, let me finish my point, because I'm building a point like this. I'm building towards towards a crescendo. You interrupted me mid crescendo. Let me get there and a little blossom for you, and then you go or you can just destroy me. With either way. All right, that's it for today's podcast. We went longer than usual.
Yes,
but that was fun, of course. Okay, when's the next scrimmage? Do you know? Is it this weekend? They're gonna scrimmage again this weekend?
It is hold on, I'll tell you, because I know this.
I think I have their schedule here on my phone somewhere.
Next scrimmage is on the 16th.
16th. All right. So last thing, what would you hope would you want to see the offense take a bigger step? And even though it means the defense got beat a little bit, but at least show some ability to make some plays. No.
I want the defense to be smothering. I want the defense to be the number 1 defense in the country. That would be the goal.
Okay. All right. That's fair. All right, thanks for listening to the 3rd episode of the Ducks Confidential podcast. I'm Aaron Fentress. He is George Wrighster. We'll be back next week. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Ducks Confidential podcast, which was brought to you by Travel Lane County, an organization that promotes travel and tourism in the Eugene, Cascades, and Coast region. Ducks fans can learn more by going to www.eugenecascadescoast.org.